Truth is a force, or truth has force. Lies attempt to feed off the force of truth, but lies have no energy of their own. Thus, there are never total lies, there are only half-truths. There are truths and there are lies, but only the truth can be as perfected, and only the desire for the truth can be part of a sustainable process. The search for truth is like a wood fire that creates the energy needed to sustain the process. Telling lies is more akin to tearing down a house. One can claim a building exists during the demolition, but at some point, the destruction is so complete nothing is left to destroy. There are a lot of lies in this system of things. They have one purpose and one purpose alone. Lies are created to divert energy away from truth. Lies consume the energy of truth. Lies divert people from the truth, so the truth is de-energized and the search for it fades away. If lies distort and corrupt the truth leads to perfectibility, defined as the absence of lies. The lie the world tells us is that there is no distinction between lies and truth. The world wants us to believe that lies and truth are related. We are told there is such a thing as a little white lie or a lie that is morally good, because it serves a higher purpose. In other words, according to the liars, there are lies that are better or more moral than the truth. We are told that to avoid hurting someone's feelings, it is okay to lie to them about how they look, for example. Lies cannot disprove the truth, nor can a lie change the truth. Lies can only muddy the truth and bury them under confusion. This is why lies and truth are claimed to not actually exist except as the extreme ends of an infinitely long continuum. There are no absolute lies and no absolute truth in the liberal conception of reality. Truth and lies are relative to the situation as defined by the individual. But this is a deceitful lie. There are no absolute or pure lies, as lies are always destructive of the truth. But lies cannot totally destroy the truth, as they are always a distortion and corruption of the truth. But truth can be divorced from lies. Truth and lies do not inhabit the same space or frame of reference. A lie creates an alternative if distorted reality. In fact, there are two realities, and each has its own type of people or race. Despite appearances, the two realities are distinct and insular, having no connectivity between them. Lies and the truth do not have any intercourse. Any truth that is not true is a lie regardless of how little or much it has been corrupted. The reality of liars, or the reality created by lies, is what the Bible calls the world of the flesh. This is the reality Satan is over. Evil befalls the flesh and the people of the flesh. The world of the flesh is governed by rules and laws. It is regulated by authorities who are over the flesh and over the physical things of the world. Bad things do not happen to good people. Bad things happen to the flesh and the world of the flesh to those who think they are good because they live within rules that reflect the desires of the flesh. But these are not what God means when He declares something good. The simple truth is, there is a division in this world, and it is irreconcilable. Good can comprise with evil only by becoming evil, as truth can only reconcile with lies by becoming a lie. Evil cannot become good, and lies never become true. There is no way for these realities to establish peace without evil overcoming good. But what is good and what is evil? What is the conflict between good and evil all about? We are told this fight is a war of principalities and powers and spiritual wickedness in the highest places. Thus, the evil grows as it advances organizationally upwards. This evil is freeloading, which must increase with power, even as power increases with the level of free riding. This is why there are only two options, but an infinity of choices. We can make what rules we wish, but they are always enforced by power over property. And this power over property always consists of some form of free riding. We own only what we create. We have no rightful claim on anything created by someone else. This statement can be and probably will be disputed, but the dispute leads to the refutation of the argument. If we do not own what we create, there is no concrete basis for ownership. If we own what we did not create, there is no concrete basis for ownership. We can only have ownership rights if the rights are attached to authorship. That is the simple and irrefutable truth. To argue otherwise opens the door to anarchy. Life is an experiment if there is truth. If there is no truth, then everything is random and there is no right and wrong and no better or worse. If there is no objective difference between right and wrong, there are only meaningless choices with only our feelings to guide us in the choices we make. But then this is basically the situation secularists have created for themselves. The simple truth is there are two realities and races, and these two cultures or worlds are not compatible. The reality and race of the right centers on the church. This is not a building or a people, it is closer to being a way of life. We will define it more precisely further along. But in an effort to keep it simple, there are, as we said, two ways only to live. Calling these two lifestyles the ways of the faith and flesh or calling them the path of good and evil does not clarify much. There must be a way to differentiate the two realities. But if not, then everything is relative and there is no truth. There is actually a way of seeing reality that is called liberalism that does see all truth as relative. Truth is synthetic according to liberals. We try and fashion propositions that closely reflect what our senses tell us is true. But sometimes our senses mislead us, and so liberals use the methods of science to verify what is probably true. However, these empirical truths are contingent and always open to modification and reinterpretation. But that is the problem. Christians and atheists alike think they are the judge of what is good. Atheists think they know what the good is, unguided by any objectivity or moral guidelines. They take on the persona of God in that they say is good, becomes good by its origination in the mind of God. Christians have the Bible, but a lot of it they do not understand. They try and do what they think Jesus would do, as if they have a chance of replicating what God is capable of. Unfortunately for our race, God has designed things to work only in a certain way. We are not saying the way of the Christian is not better than the way of the atheist, but these two ways only suffice to give us the left and the right, which is liberalism and conservatism. Conservatives are marginally better in a moral sense than liberals, but there is a hurdle the right cannot get over by themselves. This is why we need to have faith in Christ. If we have faith in Christ, we can and indeed must have faith in His people. We need confidence in others. If our faith in Christ makes us perfectible, we have to believe this perfectibility is also possible for other Christians. But that is just theory, and theory is not where it ends for Christians. To end it here is to claim we have faith, but a faith that bears fruits, not a faith that is works. Even works is not a nod to random virtue signaling good deeds. To have good works is to produce what are called goods and services. But a better way of thinking about works is to think of the church as a work and works of faith as works that build the church. That being said, we have to realize the church is Christians. But in saying this, it is not our bodies that build the church, it is our spirituality. The works of faith that build the church are what we think of as economic activity. Works that bear fruit are works that build up a business or community, in this instance, the community of believers. Works of faith are specifically directed towards the community of believers. And that is about as simple as it gets. But to complicate it a bit more, we cannot say for certain we are building up the church without an objective measure of what this means based on a clear definition of what the church is. If we are to bear fruit, we have to be able to weigh and measure the fruit we bear. Putting it simply, we cannot know anything without information, and the only objective and solid information is quantifiable. To get right into the heart of the simple truth is to arrive at the point where we understand reality is information and truth is quantifiable facts. Much of this may seem weird because you have been accustomed to thinking of reality as a substance, though it has many different manifestations. But truth is not a substance, and to have truth there must be information and a way to quantify the facts. If we understand quantification as being composed of positive and negative numbers, then spirit is the positive integers and flesh the negative ones. If truth adds value to the positive number, then evil strips value from the total. When we were ejected from Eden, it was because we as a race entered negative territory. When our value enters the negative realm, we no longer have value, and this correlates with death. If we are in negative territory, we are condemned. It would seem an easy matter to work our way into the positive realm by working, but in fact this is impossible without Christ. We need to have faith in Christ to be saved, that is, enter the positive realm. This truth may not be immediately obvious, but if perfection is a perfect score, then a negative cannot be turned into a positive. We can improve our balance by doing good, but we cannot erase the fact our score or performance is not perfect. This is not theology, this is science. There are two realities, one is perfect and the other is not. The imperfect is formed of synthetic, probabilistic, and conditional statements, or what are called half-truths or white lies. These truths are not analytical, nor do they produce deductive reasoning. Relative truths only have subjective values. There are no right answers outside of the Christian Church. There are only different answers. The left has an infinite number of choices, but no right ones. A buyer and seller can come to a right answer as to the price of goods and services, but it is rare for any transaction to be confined to just the buyer and seller in the physical world. The state usually has a say in who owns what and under what conditions it can be traded. Sales tax is one way the state interferes in trade. But this brings us to the simplest truth of all: we own nothing we did not create. We own the value we add to the things of God, but that marks both the beginning and end of our ability to own anything. Everything but what we create naturally belongs to God. The value added to assets is called equity, and equity can and is quantified by an issue of preferred shares. These serve as a currency. When someone creates value, they create equity issued as preferred shares. When converted to use as a currency, preferred shares is contracted to prefers and symbolized by the use of to designate a monetary value. Thus, prefers serves as the currency of the church to be used in the purchase and sale of goods and services within the church. But it is this configuration of the church that permits all the other truths to be revealed. Without the right foundation, truth cannot be simplified. That foundation is a theocracy and the domination of the church at the expense of liberalism and all of its secular and law-based institutions.